what's up, everyone? This is Coach Janelle, CPA. Today, I wanted to talk about when the clarity comes. So, I have a lot of friends who are entrepreneurs, and this is for anybody, right? So, for those like whatever you do, I believe you can apply this to any type of situation. And I titled this "When the Clarity Comes," right? When does the clarity come? And I know that you see a lot of people that are out there, and and for me, some people are asking, how can I get clarity? Let me wait before I start to do something until I get it all figured out, right? Until I get all the clarity. And I know for me that's me. It still is something that I'm definitely working through, is really just wanting the clarity first before I go do anything, right? So like for me, I'm in Oklahoma, and if I wanted to go to Florida or something, well, the thing is that I may not have a clear picture of every single one of the steps to get to Florida. Or, just to even think about in my business, I know that I have a goal in my business, but I may not have a clear picture of every one of the steps on how to get to that goal. And I know a lot of people are like, okay, I'm going to help you find clarity. I'm going to help you find clarity, right? I can help provide as much clarity, but I'll tell you where the real clarity comes in, right? And this is, for me, coming from someone who has spent and invested lots, a good amount of money, a good amount of investment and resources into coaching, into courses and different things like that. And so it's like, we do it. And I had one of my coaches that said, listen, do not invest in another course. Do not invest in any you need to go out and do it. And one thing I will realize is that the clarity sometimes doesn't come all the time when we haven't taken action. The clarity is actually going to come when we actually start taking action. That's when the clarity comes. And that's one thing that I've realized even just throughout this journey of stepping out and saying, okay, here, I'm available to serve. I'm available in my business, is the fact that the clarity sometimes is not going to come until you step out and until you are actually providing that thing or serving how you need to serve. It's easy to say, okay, well, until I get everything figured out, or let me wait till I, just figure this part out. Let me figure that out. Listen, y'all know I am an accountant, CPA, so planning and all of that is important. It's totally important for me. And so it's great because I have a framework. Now, that's the thing. You may need a framework, but you don't know when you'll have to pivot. You don't know if all of those steps will be crystal clear. So if somebody said, hey, listen, let me help you get to Florida. I don't know. Florida, probably won't go there now because, but anyways, y'all get the drift, right? So, or let me show you how to get to a 7-figure business. Let me show you how to get to a 6-figure business. And so, like me, I'm like, okay, let me, invest in this course. Let me invest in this course. Oh, this person promised that they're going to do that. But I recognize that everybody's processes are different. So the thing is that it's so important to know that you're going to come up with your own process, right? And that's not to say, do it differently. If you have a coach, that you're not going to do what they say and you're going to be like, listen, I'm going to pave my own way, because it is said by a coach that says, listen, it's better to copy genius than create original mediocrity, right? So the thing is yes, the framework, the steps are there, but however, your business may be different. And until you step out and take that next step, right? Until I step out and take the first step, I'm not going to know which direction to take the next step. And it was something really crazy. Was that not crazy, but I was listening to someone today, and she was an amazing kingdom builder. She's over the kingdomsnipers.com. She has this course, but one thing she said was, as she's been working with, working on six-figure budgets for her events and never winning a red on them, one thing she said is that if I knew all the steps that I needed to take, if I had clarity in every single one of those steps, then why would I need faith, right? So in order for you to step out and to really go out into what God has called you to be, or if you know that you're called to be a six-figure, seven figures, if that is your desire, then guess what? It's super important that you take the first step. Rather than having a perfect plan, rather than sitting there and saying, I can't figure out the perfect thing to say, I can't figure out the perfect thing to do. Okay, what am I gonna do? Oh, I'm scared. Listen, I'm talking about myself here. I'm just sort of being transparent. But if I sat here and said, oh my goodness, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah. So basically, if I was to sit here and say, oh no, there's no way, what's going to happen if I get to this income goal, or, what's going to happen? I don't know if I'll be able to handle that, so I'm not going to. Well, no, the thing is that clarity comes within that. I mean, just like the processes, like I have clients, and if I didn't have any clients, I can sit there and come up you're really not going to be motivated. And I'm just going to say that is that a lot of people who say, listen, let me work on everything first. So whenever I do launch out my perfect business, it's going to be super perfect. One thing I recognize is that a lot of people don't get started. And then what happens is if you spend so much time, and I'm not saying don't spend time to plan and do all of that, but if you spend so much time in a planning phase, I could speak to it because that's where I've been a lot of the time, right? That if I spend a lot of time there, there's two things that happen. Either I won't have the energy enough to get started because I'm never going to figure out every little single detail. Or once I do step out, I'm so devastated that it was different from the plan that I set up. And so now I'm just going to quit because, oh no, I wanted to go from A to B, but it took me from A to J. And oh my goodness, I'm devastated. I give up. No, that's not the thing. You've got to learn how to launch and adjust. And that's one thing that my husband has said, launch and adjust. You've got to learn how to launch and adjust. He's started a church plant. So he started from the ground up. And one thing that he would say is that he's had to learn how to launch and adjust. So you launch a program, doesn't go the way that you want it, you adjust it, you pivot it, you make it work. And so once you do that, you're going to get clarity. But I guarantee that I've talked to a lot of coaches, the clarity is not going to come as you're sitting there thinking about it, and not taking action. You've got to take action, right? And that's not to say, but for me, it was like, let me take one more course. My husband will attest to that. Let me take one more coach, or let me, I haven't figured this part of my business out. Or you know what? I haven't really figured this part of my business out. Let me go over here before I actually get started. And every single time my husband will be like, okay, whatever this person says, you better do it. And one thing that I've recognized is that not everybody's story is going to be the same. Yes, there is a framework to follow. Yes, if somebody said, listen, I can help you grow to six figures if you follow the actions. But here's the thing. What is the last action that somebody has encouraged you to take, or a coach has told you that you have not taken upon? So here's the thing. I believe it's Mike Murdoch that says this, that, what's the last instruction that you haven't listened to, that you haven't put into action? And so sometimes when you feel as though, hey, I'm stuck, well, what's the last thing your coach said, right? Was the last thing they said was to go live? What was the last thing they said was to send out an email? Was the last thing that they said was to put out a Facebook post? And so you have to think about it like there's no perfect way. There's so many mistakes that are made even in the seven-figure space, and they've mentioned it. They've said, listen, you don't look at it as, oh my goodness, I'm a failure. You look at it as, okay, this is an area that we need to adjust. And one of the things, one of the greatest coaches that I've heard from was that you've got to learn how to take your emotions and yourself out of it, right? And just say, okay, there's a mistake. Let me go ahead and fix it. There's a mistake. Let me go ahead and just, do whatever I need to do to correct it. Okay, so it happened. That's something to learn from. That's something to really glean from. And so that's the thing, right? I know I'm not doing everything right. Listen, there's things that I want to implement that I have not implemented, right? Because of time. But that's the thing. I'm putting in action, and still the action that I'm putting out, it is going to reap a harvest. Now, again, it may not come from the place where I think it's going to come from. So, for instance, if I go out and pass out business cards to 100 people, none of them may not call me, but I may get hit up on Facebook and says, hey, listen, I'm ready to get started. Or if I'm on Facebook and I'm sitting there, doing reach outs or whatever, or if I'm doing Facebook Lives, I may not get someone from the Facebook Lives, but I may get, a client from, meeting someone face to face, or I may get a client from LinkedIn that just out of the blue will come to me with an opportunity. So the thing is please do not, whatever action that you're taking and you're being discouraged by, don't be discouraged by that. So if your coach is giving you a command or an instruction, just keep doing it, right? Just keep doing it. And if there's ways to tweak it, you can definitely tweak it. Or if you're not feeling like as you're getting the benefit from that, then maybe what you can do is sit there and say, okay, well, what things do I need to pivot? What things do I need to adjust in order to make this just right? A lot of people who are coming out and saying, listen, I have the perfect formula, this worked for me, they will tell you their stories of how they failed, right? They will tell you their stories. Listen, I was doing 100 calls a day, for 300 days straight and didn't get a client, right? They will tell you those stories. And so the thing is that you will go through your own process as well. I mean, there may be some, those who just put in the plan and they just become successful right off the bat, in 2 days they become a millionaire, right? I know there may be some people out there, right, because they followed someone else's system. But here's the thing, everybody's story is different, everybody's journey is different. And the reason why you're going through your journey is because somebody else is going to need to see your journey so that it can give them hope. So for instance, another thing I will bring up is someone who may have a smoking problem or something like that. Somebody who wants to quit smoking, maybe their journey is, giving up. And it was a process of over 6 months. And then next thing you know, they given up the smoking, right? Another person's journey may have been, they went to a church service and God said you're delivered, and boom, they quit smoking. That's the thing. It's like your journey isn't going to be like anyone else's journey. So don't get discouraged. Do not get discouraged from that, because God deals with everyone different. I may look over at, someone else and they may grow their business, overnight. So they may have a program that says, hey, how to grow your business in 24 hours, how to make $1 million business in 24 hours. I mean, hey, that's great, right? So that's the thing, is that your journey is not going to be anyone else's journey. And so the clarity, again, is going to come through the action and what you need to do and the steps you need to take in order to get to a place to where, okay, this is starting to make sense right now. Because if you're planning only on paper for it to make sense, then it's not going to make any sense, right? If you have any questions, if you have any comments, feel free to drop them in here.